that. And in a spec script, if you, let's assume that the spec script is not necessarily going to be bought for 1 second. You know, the more ingenuity, if it's an action piece, that you can throw into that, the more eccentricity. I remember I worked on one with, I think it was the Baywatch guys, and we were talking about doing something for Hulk Hogan in those days. We were trying to develop a piece for Hulk. And obviously it was going to be an action piece. And the Australians will know the haka, which wasn't very popular in those days. This was a number of years ago. And I was trying to explain to people what the haka is and how we might be able to use this, and maybe Hulk actually uses this kind of dance, and we can, you know, it can be kind of weird and different. You know, just what a good way to kind of energize a character and make a character eccentric. And I think in action heroes, you know, you kind of look for eccentricity, whether it be male or female. Eccentricity is a good thing. You make them feel different. I think people will read it and have some fun with it. Do you know what the haka is, though? It's that dance. Yeah, it's a war dance, and there's a couple of like football teams that do it. Like a Hawaiian, I think the University of Hawaii actually does it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they stick their tongues out and make their faces. The idea is you're supposed to terrify your enemy. It's very rhythmic and very wonderful. I mean, it's
For every game.
Yeah.
And the other team always, they're riveted.
Yeah, well, it's great. It is, and the music is great. And you know, sometimes in the Samoan, you know, they'll actually paint their faces. It's terrific. And but I always thought it was cool. Matter of fact, if I was writing a script, I'd probably make my guy do the haka.
Yeah. Did that for Laura Bush.
That's right. Oh, did they? Yeah. It's becoming more and more popular. When I had seen it, there was like a documentary that I bumped into, and this literally was 10, 12 years ago, and it was fun.
Now, they did that for Laura Bush. Was that a positive thing? Or
Yeah.
Okay, so you know, I think the thing you're talking about is so important. It's like if thousands and thousands of scripts are coming in every month, you know, if yours is cliche, it's not going to take long for somebody's going to put it down and say goodbye to it.
Yeah, it's the same thing with auditioning. Like I was talking to Chuck, right? I was talking to you earlier, and you know, Chuck was sharing with me that he was an actor. You know, one of the things about when you audition, and if any of you have been in situations where you are sitting back and looking at a lot of actors, and you know, you're maybe seeing 50 in one day, and you know, you're always trying, you know, it kind of breaks your heart because it's such a hard thing to do, especially for actors, you know, who are, you know, completely just naked and putting themselves out there and being judged so many times, being judged on them, you know, their face, their nose, their hair, you know, not even their talent, but being judged on them. And however, the person who comes in, who sometimes, you know, without totally going out of character or destroying what you're looking for, but just gives you that something. I was working with a director the other day who just says, I'm always looking for a creature. I said, that's such a good phrase. You know, just that thing. You know, it's hard to define it, but it's just kind of that thing. And somehow when you're reading a script, you can be very analytical about it. Again, you can say, opening, a good beginning, middle, end, nice little twist to it, interesting character, good dialogue. Is the dialogue consistent from scene to scene? Do they start talking like this kind of person here, and somehow here they start talking like somebody else because they want to fit a quote in there or something, and now they're quoting something, but they don't have a background to quote anything? So you kind of, you know, you're looking for those things, and then there's that indescribable. You know, this is a very talented person writing this script. It may have flaws, but this is really something that just kind of jumps at you. And I'm not exactly sure how to articulate what that is. If I could, I'd probably go and write my book. What to put into your screenplay. You know, but
everybody says we know it when we see it.
Yeah, that's kind of part of it. But then there's all those nice technical things that you can play with. Again, like character, story, structure, dialogue.
So okay, so you've been in this position for the last 3 or 4 years.
In theater?
In theater.
Yeah.
Okay, and you plan to stay in theater?
Yeah, until they kick me out. I guess so.
Do you have something coming up in the near future?
Yeah, I'm doing Star is Born, which is, like I mentioned, the 53, and I think that'll be the 09-010 season in New York. I have a star, but I can't tell you who it is because I haven't quite signed the deal yet. It's a big star. And to play the male version, or the male character. And then probably Charlie will be next, and I'm doing a great little piece on a German movie I really love this one. It's called Bandits. And the film itself is kind of interesting. It was never released in the United States, subtitled film. And it's about a group of women. I'm kind of interested in women without men. I don't know why that intrigues me, but it does. I'm divorced, so I'm, and I have 2 daughters. So I kind of like this idea of, watching women without the interference of the male, and then it's kind of why I like I guess Sex and the City, except the male war is kind of peripheral. But these women meet in prison, and they form a band. And it's going to sound like a silly story, but it actually works in the context of the movie, because the reality of the movie is this is the world, somewhere up here, which is why it can sing. Or, you have to be very careful with musicals, because if you're dealing with something very real, you always have to say to yourself that these people are going to sing to each other, and so you better watch that reality. And we've seen television, remember, with cop rock and all that stuff. You've got to be very careful when you try to make people sing. But they meet in prison. They ultimately, through the mechanics of the story, break out of prison, and they become underground cult heroes. They get a record deal, and their record actually is now being played as a top 40 song. It's very counterculture, very garage band. And then there's kind of a Thelma and Louise type ending. And I don't know, I love this property. So we've got 2 really great authors, what they call the theater authors, a composer, lyricist, and a book writer, working on it. And I just think it could be a hoot. I just love that piece.